This is the story of a businessman who worked very hard in his life and achieved great success. But because of his pride, he never gave respect to the poor. Then one day, an event happened in his life, an event that changed his thinking forever, an event that made him indebted to a poor man for the rest of his days. Let's find out what really happened, what touched the deepest part of his soul. But first, turn off all the lights around you, lay down comfortably. Slowly close your eyes. Now, allow your body to relax. A little more, relax. Let your body become completely loose. No tension, no stress. Let go of every thought running in your mind, every worry, every burden. Feel the peace around you. Let all the negative and positive thoughts slowly fade away. Stretch your hands straight and rest them gently beside your waist. Now, focus on your breath. Don't try to make it slow. Don't try to make it fast. Just notice. Notice how it enters through your nose, flows down your throat, and fills your body. Then notice how it comes back out, through your throat and out of your nose. The mind becomes calm, perfectly calm. You're feeling good. You're feeling light. All around you, there is peace, stillness, silence. There is comfort. Andrew was a hard-working man. He always had the courage to go after what he wanted in life. By the side of a wide, flowing river stood his little hometown. That is where he lived. He had 5 brothers, and all 5 lived together with love and unity. Their father was no longer alive. Only their mother remained. With great care and devotion, she raised her 5 sons and 3 daughters. Farming was their only way of earning a living. The 5 brothers, the 3 sisters, and their mother, all of them would take turns through the night watering the fields. That was their life. They worked the land, and whatever the earth gave back, that's what they survived on. They didn't even have much land, just a little. But on that little piece, they worked with all their strength and grew grain to feed themselves. Among the 5 brothers, Andrew was different. He had a sharper mind, a stronger will, more determination than all the others. He wanted to achieve something big in his life, something he could never find a chance to do in that small town. One day, his mother was cooking at the stove. Andrew, hesitant, finally gathered the courage to ask, "Mom, can you give me a little money? I found a good job opportunity, but I need to pay something first. Not much, just $5,000. But his mother shook her head. She said no. Andrew felt crushed. He thought, if only Mom had given me this money today, my future could have been made. But life always works the way fate decides. That day, Andrew made a decision in his heart. If no one would help him, he would help himself. He wanted to do something big in his life. So after finishing his high school exams, he started trying small businesses. First, he sold milk. He would buy 5 liters from the market, then go door to door, selling it to families. When he began making a little profit, he opened a small diner. And that diner grew fast. Day by day, night by night, it doubled and doubled again. Soon, a business worth thousands turned into millions, and millions turned into more. The boy was gifted, the most successful among all his brothers, and now He had grown older, so naturally, his mother began worrying about his marriage. Andrew wanted a wife who was virtuous and gentle, but finding the right match was not easy. He wanted someone who could understand him, someone who could turn their home into a sanctuary, someone free of greed, someone who would care for the family, someone who could fulfill all the duties of a loving wife. One day, Andrew's older brother went to a wedding in a nearby town. The town, surrounded by greenery on all sides, was breathtakingly beautiful. Everywhere you looked, there were gardens, mango trees, guava trees. At the wedding, Andrew's older brother asked the gardener, "Whose gardens are?" "He has mango orchards, guava orchards, and on top of that, a huge business in milk and dairy products. Lately, he's been looking for a suitable groom for his daughter, but no talented young man has come forward. If you know anyone, do let us know." Hearing this, Andrew's older brother's face lit up with joy. It felt as if he had arrived at exactly the right place. His search was over. He had finally found a virtuous girl for his younger brother. He went straight to the address given by the gardener and knocked on Mr. Munshi's door. A woman dressed in a deep purple sari opened the door. She greeted Andrew's older brother politely and asked the purpose of his visit. "I came from a distant town for a wedding," he said. "I heard you are looking for a suitable groom for your daughter. I came to discuss this matter with you." Mr. Munshi's wife welcomed him inside warmly and treated him with great hospitality. When she heard about Andrew, she was very pleased. The entire family liked. Both Andrew and the girl liked each other instantly, and very soon they were married. Within a few years, they had 2 children, Ryan and Ethan. Both were extremely handsome, talented beyond measure, and always at the top of their class. Andrew's business had grown even further. He had so many responsibilities that he barely had time to spend with his family. He had moved so far ahead in the race for wealth that he had no time to celebrate the small joys of life with them. Andrew's wife, Margaret, was sometimes upset. She wished he would spend time with the children, but whenever she mentioned it, he would just give money. Measuring everything in dollars had become his habit. He had developed a deep hatred for the poor. He didn't even like looking at them. His business had grown so much that he now owned multiple mansions, cars, and even several ships sailing across the ocean. One day, his children insisted that they wanted to celebrate their birthday. But Andrew clearly said that the children should not go on the ship. Yet, who can resist the insistence of children? Eventually, he had to give in. However, some repairs were still needed on the ship. So Andrew told his manager, "Call the carpenter and have him do the painting on the ship as well." A poor carpenter from a nearby neighborhood was called, and Andrew explained all the work to him. Within 2 days, the carpenter had finished painting the entire ship. He worked very carefully. Every detail was perfect. But suddenly, in the final stage, he noticed a small wooden boat on the deck. The carpenter was an honest man. He thought, "I'll paint this small boat too." It was old and worn out. While painting the boat, he saw a small hole at the bottom. It could have been deadly for anyone who got in. Water could fill the boat. The children's birthday was celebrated on the ship. Everyone was happy. At night, while everyone was sleeping on the big ship, the children got playful. They went up to the deck to play. After a while, they noticed that small wooden boat again. They playfully pushed it into the water and got inside. rowing. The boat had been tied to the big ship. Suddenly, the rope broke, and the children, rowing and playing, drifted far away. They had no idea what was happening. They were lost in their fun. The ship's captain noticed and started shouting. Hearing the noise, everyone came out of their rooms, asking what had happened. The captain explained, "Both children, Ryan and Ethan, have taken the broken boat into the ocean." Andrew and Margaret were immediately worried. The manager, in a trembling voice, said, "Sir, the boat was broken. It had a hole. Now I don't know what will happen." Everyone was very concerned. After a short while, a voice called from behind. "Mom, Dad, why is everyone gathering? What's happening?" When they turned, Ryan and Ethan were standing there, drenched. Life returned to Andrew and Margaret's eyes as if they had found their lost children. They hugged their children tightly and cried out, "Where did you go? We were so worried. Your boat had a hole. How did you survive?" The children explained, "Dad, the boat was perfectly fine. It looked new. There was no hole. We just rode around and played in the water for a little while and came back safely." Everyone was amazed. Then the question arose, who had repaired the hole in that boat? No one had asked anyone to do it. Andrew asked his manager, "Who did the ship's painting work?" The manager said, "A poor carpenter from the nearby neighborhood. I gave him the painting job. Sir, he must be a good man. He worked beyond what was asked and repaired the boat too. He even painted it so the children could safely play." Andrew immediately ran toward the neighborhood to find the carpenter's house. After several hours of searching, he finally found it. He knocked on the door. A poor-looking man in torn clothes came out. "Sir, how can I help you? Who are you, and why have you come to this humble home?" Without a word, Andrew touched the carpenter's feet and said, "I can never repay your kindness. You saved my children's lives. Tell me, how can I help you?" The carpenter was confused. He didn't understand what Andrew meant. Andrew explained the entire story. The carpenter replied, "Sir, you gave me the ship repair and painting job, but not the boat. Yet it is the duty of a true man to do more than what is asked, to fulfill his responsibility and repair anything broken that he sees. He even painted it so the children could safely play." The carpenter had asked for no help, yet Andrew understood what he could do. He immediately returned home and told his manager to take care of all expenses for the daughter's wedding and find a good groom. The daughter's wedding was celebrated grandly. Andrew was overjoyed. He appointed the carpenter as the chief engineer on his large ships, transforming his life. Friends, as they say, God's house may delay, but never deny. If your intentions are pure, success will come. God always helps in some way. You only need to keep your intentions clean. This event changed Andrew's mindset toward the poor forever. So, friends, this was today's story, The Wooden Boat. I hope you enjoyed it. You've listened to the story, and now it's time to slowly drift towards sleep. May sleep embrace you gently. Good night. This story comes from a small town lost somewhere in the vast, dusty plains of rural Texas. It's about a man named Ethan who, through his unshakable faith and love, made a friend of the Lord himself. It is said that Ethan was a man of simple heart and clean spirit. There wasn't a trace of malice in him. His parents had passed away when he was just a boy, so he and his younger sister lived with their aunt and uncle. Ethan was completely devoted to his sister Lily. He listened to everything she said with great seriousness and always followed her advice. Seeing how simple and trusting he was, his aunt had given him his share of the family land, a barren, rocky plot on the edge of the county. It was a field where no crop could grow, not even enough weeds to feed a bird. In simple terms, his own kin had knowingly burdened him with a useless piece of earth. Ethan also had a few cows and a pair of oxen, all of which he'd acquired on credit. Despite it all, Ethan would greet God every morning and with a fresh sense of purpose, head out at the crack of dawn. He spent all day, every day, trying to make his barren, rugged field fertile. When evening came, he would return home to whatever simple, dry meal his sister had managed to prepare, and they would make do. Life was filled with hardship, but you would be hard-pressed to find even a single line of sorrow on Ethan's face. He was always happy. Many people would use slick words to trap him in their schemes. Ethan would listen to everyone and then simply go about his work. Sometimes there was no money for his own food. Other times, none for the cattle. Sometimes the milk brought in no profit, and other times the townsfolk would swindle him. On top of this, his sister often fell ill. Making ends meet was a constant struggle, but Ethan never worried about a thing. A smile was always on his face. The people in town often made fun of his innocence and used it to their advantage. Ethan could never understand why people treated him this way. However, his sister, who would scold him like a father, but also explain things lovingly like a mother, always tried to make him see. Now, in that town lived a greedy preacher, Reverend Miller. He made a good living by swindling people. The Reverend would come to Ethan's home every day to collect milk. He had spun a tale so convincing that he managed to get milk from Ethan for free every single day. First, the Reverend would take a pail of milk for himself, and then another for the Lord. Ethan, being so pure-hearted and simple, had never read the holy books, nor had he ever set foot inside the church to see the services. He was so naive that he imagined the Lord was some powerful, important man who gave wisdom to great scholars like the Reverend, who spent time with them, and who, at their request, watched over the town. He thought to himself, "We're poor folk. We wouldn't even know how to talk to a man like the Lord. But by giving this milk, we can show him that we are good people too." The Reverend understood Ethan's thinking perfectly, and so every day, in the name of pleasing the Lord, he would take a separate full pail of milk from Ethan. After collecting the milk, the Reverend would go straight to the church. Sprinkle a few drops of milk on the stone statue of the patron saint by the altar. Mutter a few words and then take the rest of the milk home for his own family. One day, Ethan asked him, "Reverend, your Lord must be getting quite stout by now. This poor man's milk has hard work and strength in it, which your Lord gets every day." The Reverend, pleased at how easily he was fooling Ethan, replied with a smile, "Ethan, the Lord thinks of you all day long. He says, 'I wish to see this good man with my own eyes.'" Ethan laughed. "Tell me the truth, Reverend. Does the Lord really remember me, or does he just drink pails and pails of my milk?" The Reverend put on a serious face. "What are you saying, Ethan? The Lord has no need for anything. He is pleased with you. That is why he asks for your milk specifically. Your milk is pure. Everyone else waters theirs down, which the Lord cannot stand. He is so pleased with you, in fact, that just yesterday he was saying, I will take away all of Ethan's troubles and hardships. Ethan laughed again and said, Well, there's no need to take away my troubles just yet, Reverend. But if your Lord praises me so, I imagine he must have grown very strong by now. Whenever Ethan asked to meet this Lord, the Reverend would make an excuse. Sometimes he would say the Lord was deep in prayer and couldn't be disturbed. Other times, that the Lord had gone out of town for a great feast. And so the days passed. The Reverend, the townsfolk, even his own relatives, all continued to cheat him day after day. His sister, Lily, tried to warn him about it many times, but Ethan, the simple devotee, would just say a prayer and carry on doing everyone's work without a single complaint. Then, one day, Ethan's sister fell terribly ill. The brother and sister were well known in the small community, so as soon as word got out, people started visiting. There was a constant stream of neighbors coming and going from their little house. Ethan sat by his sister's bedside day and night, his face etched with worry. Seeing his distress, a neighbor tried to comfort him. Don't you worry, Ethan. The man upstairs will make it right. Ethan looked up at the ceiling and replied instantly, The man upstairs? Does someone live up there? Who is that? The neighbor answered, I mean God. He lives above and will fix everything. Ethan said, If he lives all the way up there? You must have to shout awfully loud for him to hear your troubles. And how would he get down here so fast? Does he have oxen like me? The neighbor just shook his head, thinking, What am I doing trying to talk sense into this fool? He bid Ethan farewell and, thinking him a simpleton, went on his way. The next morning, when the greedy Reverend came to collect the milk, he had already heard that Ethan's sister was very sick. He saw his chance. This is a perfect opportunity, he thought, to get even more milk out of Ethan. He walked right up to Ethan, greeting him cheerfully. He pulled an apple from his bag and said, Look what the Lord has sent for you with his own hands. He said to give this to your sister Lily since she is ill. Ethan's face lit up, but just as he reached for the apple, the Reverend pulled it back. There is one condition, the Reverend said. What condition? Ethan asked. The Reverend replied, Well, it seems today we will need a little more milk than usual. You see, some of the Lord's relatives have come to visit him all the way from the big city, and he has been boasting to them so much about the wonderful quality of your milk. Of course! Here is the second part of the script, translated and adapted to a rural U.S. setting. The Reverend continued, And besides, as soon as the Lord heard your sister was sick, he was going to come himself. But he has guests at the church today. That's why he sent this blessed offering for your sister with his own hands. Ethan was overjoyed to receive the gift. He gave the Reverend double the usual amount of milk and said, Tell the Lord to give this milk to his relatives first, and not to drink it all himself, because there's none left for us now. If you come looking for more, you'll have to wait until tomorrow. Reverend Miller, delighted at how well his trick was working, picked up both pails of milk and headed straight for the church. Meanwhile, Ethan went to his sister. Lily, look! The Lord sent this for you. Yes, the very same Lord who drinks our milk every day. I hear he's become quite strong now. He gave this himself, the wisest of all wise men. If you eat this, you'll become strong just like him." Whether it was Ethan's luck or a miracle from the heavens, the moment his sister finished the apple the Reverend had given her, she began to recover. Seeing his sister get well, Ethan's faith in the Reverend grew even stronger. From that day on, Ethan did whatever the preacher asked, happily and without question. He would give him as much milk as he wanted without a second thought. One day, while Ethan was working in the fields with his oxen, trying to make the barren land fertile, one of his animals collapsed and died. This was a catastrophe. Making the farm work was crucial for Lily's future. Desperate, Ethan thought, "I have to ask the Reverend for help." He walked straight toward the church. When he arrived, Ethan saw that the preacher had decorated a stone statue and placed it on an altar. It was adorned with fine robes, touches of gold paint, and a painted mark on its forehead. Ethan explained his terrible situation and asked for help. The Reverend saw another opportunity to deceive him. He pointed to the statue and said, "This is the Lord. Tell him your troubles. He is the one who will help you." Ethan stared. This stone is the Lord?" The Reverend's face turned red with pretended anger. "Watch your tongue. This is the sustainer of all creation, the one who eases everyone's suffering." Ethan replied, still in shock. "This is the Lord who cares for everyone? Who belongs to us just as we belong to him? Can he really do anything?" "Anything and everything, Ethan," the Reverend said smugly. Ethan's mind began to race. He can make my farm fertile, secure Lily's future, pay off all my debts? It means he will have to do whatever. A huge smile spread across Ethan's face. He turned to the preacher and said, "Reverend, do one thing for me. Give me this Lord." "What?" "You don't need him," Ethan insisted. "The ones who truly need him are me and my barren field." The Reverend's anger returned. "Are you crazy? The Lord isn't something you can just take. Now get out of here. It's time for the evening offering." Ethan was pushed toward the door and left the church. But now, a storm of questions and answers was swirling in Ethan's mind. He came to a single, unshakable conclusion. I need to have the Lord, no matter what it takes. When he went back, the Reverend just laughed at him. Seeing a chance to cheat Ethan out of everything he had left, he said mockingly, "All right, you want him so badly? Do this. Bring me your other ox and your cows this evening, and you can take the Lord home with you." Ethan was ecstatic, almost mad with joy. He ran home and told his sister everything that had happened at the. Lily, trying to make him see reason, said, "Brother, he's making a fool of you. How can that be possible? Just think about it for a second." But it was as if Ethan couldn't even hear her. "I saw it with my own eyes, Lily," he said. "He drank my milk and he made you well. If he listens to every single thing that Reverend says, then why won't he listen to me? After all," Ethan said to himself, "he drinks our milk every day and for free at that." With that thought, he ignored his sister's pleas, gathered his last ox and his cows, and went to see the Reverend. The Reverend's eyes lit up when he saw Ethan with the animals. He actually did, he thought. But how can I give him the statue from the church? An idea struck him. The Reverend went into his kitchen, picked up a heavy, smooth grinding stone from the counter, wrapped it carefully in a piece of cloth, and presented it to Ethan. "Here is your lord," he said solemnly. "Do not look at his face here. Take him home and place him gently on a fine seat. Dress him in good clothes. Offer him flowers and fruit. And listen, before you eat, you must always serve him his meal first. And keep praying. Otherwise, the Lord will become angry and won't listen to a word you say." He handed the heavy, cloth-wrapped stone to Ethan. A wave of pure joy washed over Ethan. You would have thought he had just been given the greatest treasure in the world. He beamed at the preacher and said, "But Reverend, I don't know the special prayers that you say." The Reverend waved a dismissive hand. "The Lord understands the language of love. Just keep saying, 'Praise the Lord,' and that will be enough. Oh, and don't tell anyone about this, or they'll all come to me asking for a lord of their own." Ethan clutched the stone to his chest and carried it home as if he were protecting his life savings from the eyes of the world. He reached his small cabin. His sister was standing in the doorway, and as she looked into her brother's eyes, she could feel the overwhelming love and devotion radiating from him. The next morning, Ethan woke with a start. The church bells were ringing, and he realized he had overslept. He rushed outside to feed his animals, but then he stopped. He remembered the guest sleeping inside his house. He had to bathe him, make him an offering, and then go with him to work in the field. Ethan went into the room and looked at the stone. "Wake up, Lord," he said. "We have so much work to do. Please wash up quickly. After you've eaten, we have to go to the fields. I will prepare your bath." The stone sat silent, as if smiling to itself at the faith of its new devotee. Ethan gently bathed the stone and set it on a clean, honored spot. He took the most beautiful piece of cloth in the house and used it as the Lord's robes. He laid a few wildflowers he'd picked before it. Then Ethan put their food onto 2 plates. He placed one in front of the stone and the other in front of himself. His sister was watching him from the doorway. "Go on now, Lily," Ethan said. "The Lord won't eat in front of anyone." "Then what are you doing sitting here with him?" she shot back. "Silly," Ethan replied patiently. "Someone has to be here to know that he's eaten. Otherwise, how will I know when he's finished? We need to get our work done quickly." Lily smiled softly and left the room. Ethan sat before the stone, waiting, watching for it to begin eating. A long time passed. He spoke to it again. "I know this is simple food, not like what you must be used to, but in our house, this is what we have. What we eat is what I have made for you. Please begin. We have to get to the fields." He watched. There was no movement. He waited, and then his patience finally broke. In a burst of frustration, he declared, "If you won't eat, then I won't eat either, and I won't take a single bite until you do. If you are going to be stubborn, then so am I." For 6 full days, Ethan waited for the stone to eat, and for 6 full days, Ethan ate nothing. By the 7th day, the townsfolk had gathered outside his house. They watched him, but said nothing. Ethan's condition was terrible. His body had become painfully thin, and he could no longer keep his eyes open. But the only name on his lips was the Lord's. When word of Ethan's state reached the Reverend, he rushed over. When he saw what was happening, he remembered the lies he had told, the instructions he had given. A cold spike of fear shot through him. Terrified of what he had caused, he turned and ran away. As Ethan faded, on the verge of death, the stone began to glow, and from it the Lord appeared in the form of a simple farmer. He walked to Ethan and took his hand. Feeling the touch, Ethan's breath returned. He opened his eyes, saw the man, and said weakly, "You took so long. What if something had happened to me?" The Lord smiled gently. "Did you really think I would let anything happen to you?" he asked. "But look at you. You show up late and now you plan to eat all by yourself?" It is said that the Lord then fed Ethan with his own hands. After that, whatever work Ethan asked of the Lord, he did out of love for his devotee. At Ethan's request, the Lord worked alongside him and his one remaining ox. They plowed the barren field together, planted seeds, and watered the soil. And before their very eyes, a miracle happened. The barren earth sprouted a massive crop of corn, more than anyone had ever seen. Soon, all of Ethan's debts were paid. His humble cabin was repaired and rebuilt into a strong, beautiful farmhouse. There was no longer any shortage of milk or butter in their home. Through his true faith and simple heart, Ethan had truly found God. And so, the story of faithful Ethan became a legend in those parts, told in churches and around campfires for generations. It taught that a person should never stop trying, because honest effort, backed by faith, is what transforms into results. And now that you have heard this story, perhaps you feel a sense of peace. Your mind is calm. Perhaps you are getting sleepy. Your eyes are growing heavy. You are drifting into a deep and restful state. Good night.